you can hone in on that place where you feel good and safe and comfortable. And you can imagine that feeling spreading out to all parts of your body. And again, it only takes 20-30 seconds to do this, and this can calm and bring you down. Welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Event Podcast. I'm thrilled to have you here as we embark on a journey into the heart of our understanding of our emotions, because let's face it, life is a roller coaster of feelings. Today, we're shining a spotlight on an incredible voice in the field of emotional wellness, who happens to be a dear friend of mine of 17 years, Martha Charneskey. She's an esteemed health and wellness expert who spent 20 years of helping people discover the art of emotional balance. Through her research in customizing botanical formulas, she seamlessly connects the dots between emotional awareness and conscious living. She believes that when we're in tune with our emotions, and we partner with our bodies, we can unlock the potential for resilience, fulfillment, and genuine human connection. In today's episode, we'll first learn a bit more about Martha, who she is, how we came to work together, and her unique approach to emotional balance. We're going to delve into the foundational concepts of emotional balance and emotional intelligence, emphasizing why it's essential in our fast-paced, ever-changing world. So, if you've ever felt tossed around by the waves of your feelings or wondered how to navigate the emotional tides in relationships, then this episode is just for you. Martha is going to share powerful insights and practical tools to cultivate emotional balance, helping you find your center even in the most turbulent times. So stick around as we dive deep into topics like self-awareness, empathy, self-regulation, and the subtle art of being in tune with ourselves, not just for our own benefit, but for the benefit of those around us too. So grab your headphones, find a comfy spot, and get ready to explore the world of emotional intelligence with Martha Charneskey and myself. Are you ready to transform your emotional landscape? I hope so, so let's get started. I am so excited, Martha, to introduce you to the podcast as my co-host. You've been such a dear friend of mine, and I was thinking about it, and it's been 17 years. I was thinking about how we first met and then how we decided to work together. And how this has come together, it is mind-blowing. So I'm going to kind of fill the audience in on how we first met. I remember it was back in 2007. Martha and I both do volunteer ministry work. And we were both invited to a school for this work. And I remember walking in the door, and you were standing kind of in the middle part. And I remember I said, I don't know if I'm supposed to be at this school or not. I remember saying that. And I saw your face, and you introduced yourself. And we've been friends ever since. We got to partner up during school. Over the past many years, there's times we've gotten together, and it's like we haven't missed a beat. So how we decided to work together on the podcast is I had advertised out there about putting the podcast on. And I remember it was almost a month ago, our faith organization had a special assembly day. And we're both in that same circuit. I remember getting up that morning, I do my prayerful routine, and I remember thinking, man, I hope I run into Martha today. And we did. We ran into each other at lunch, and you said, I know you have that podcast. I would love to help you on it. And I says, yeah, that'd be great. I'm going to message you. And then we met and we both prayed beforehand and during, and we just knew it was God's direction. And here we are. So it's just wonderful. It is. So would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Martha?
Sure. I want to add to that while we're on topic that about a month and a half or so ago, I had been wanting to do a podcast. I had asked a friend who is actually serving in New York now. And she and I have a good, similar as you and I have about wellness and, our spirituality is the same. And I had asked her, she was thinking about it, and then she is a certified agent for a company, and she was unable to do it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to shelf this, but it still was, kept coming to the top of my shelf, like I need to start this.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that you were into it, and I thought, wow, Heather's awesome. I've watched your journey all these years. I've high-fived you through the whole thing because I felt like you've made such great progress. I'm kind of at your feet on the nutrition level and things of those natures because I feel like you've surpassed me in those areas. So I'm really grateful for the things you've taught me recently in your master class. So I'm grateful for that. And it just did work out. I just feel it was a blessing. As for me, I have had, just like most people watching these podcasts, crashes with my health where I've just been like, no resources, medical field, it's like an anomaly, and thinking, I can't live like this. I had been diagnosed with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, adrenal failure, almost failure. And I was just like I was really young when all those things happened. So I was just striving for something better. And the medical field was kind of like, well, I'm kind of like you where I don't respond really well to medications. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people that you don't even have to read me the side effects. I'm going to just, Unfortunately, I'm just a very sensitive person. And you even identified that I was a highly sensitive person when we met. And I thought, oh my goodness, you just opened a door for me because I'd never understood the way I thought until I started looking into that. And you were the helpful person in that step of my journey. So I did go to a naturopath. He guided me with nutrition, supplements, herbs, and things to heal my adrenals, which was amazing. So that was more than 20 years ago. And I've had a few ups and downs since then because, we're not perfect. So we do struggle at times. But I ended up about 11 years ago. My mom passed away. And it was kind of a catalyst for my health to just spiral out of control again. And I ended up starting to formulate my own herbal products after that, just for my own use. And then my friend that's in New York, she said, why are you not putting these online? Because they're really good. And, I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. And I was just like, okay, really? Okay, thank you. She grabbed my laptop and she just opened up an Etsy shop for me. She started me on that journey. And I've been on Etsy for some years now. It's not my focus because I really like helping people on a one-on-one. But I have clients, I'll say, although even in New Mexico recently, all over the country, who reach out to me through Etsy messaging, and I make them things specifically for their needs when they're very difficult to diagnose or the medications aren't working. And I'm not saying don't use your doctor or anything like that. I'm just saying sometimes things don't work and they're not helping you, and you need to, you need that next step of your journey. Right. And that's where I feel like you and we want to help people on their next step. We've gone through it on our own and together. And I feel like this is the time for us to help people of like faith as well. And you're kind of an inspiration for me. So I'm really grateful that we reconnected. And so anyway, I'm doing better. My health is amazing compared to I could not even hold myself up to brush my teeth. That's how bad I was. And, my doctor had said, oh, you might even have lupus. And this was just like, I can't live the
Right.
rest of my life in that condition. So
Right.
I'm a fighter. I feel like,
Yes.
yes,
Right.
we're all victims in the beginning. But if you remain a victim, that's your choice. You have to
Yes.
realize, you know what? I want to be not the victim. I want to get past this. Otherwise, you become this bottomless pit of neediness.
Yes.
So instead of being a needy person, I realized I want to go above this and help other people. And I
Yes.
feel like that's where my strength came. I didn't feel sorry for myself. And I'm not saying I don't have a pity party every once in a while,
Right. Yeah.
because we all need to grieve you know, the setbacks, so to speak. But I feel like by far the journey, maybe it's not linear, but it's going up, a little bit
Right.
down, up, up, up. So progress is maybe one step at a time, but I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. What a beautiful story. Martha, that's one of the many things I love about you is that you have such a growth mindset and you're not a victim. You're the opposite. You're a warrior. And even warriors, fall down. It's all about, do we get back up? Do we rise above the fray? And I've seen you do that over and over and over again. And I think that's where we've hit it off too, because I'm the same way. I mean, I have similar story in the sense of being highly sensitive and getting to that place of crisis in my body. And those types of things have happened, and just not staying down, and I just love that about you. And I just feel it's such an honor to know you and even be your friend, because
I feel the same way.
it's kind of rare if you think about it. So that's what we want to do, is help others. I'm the same way, and helping others also increases serotonin, increases our purpose in life. In future episodes, I'm going to love getting into the 6 core emotional needs, human needs. And it's so important to have purpose in our life. That helps us not be a victim. So that's so awesome. So I was wondering if you can tell me a bit about, because I know you have created these formulas to help yourself and to help others. Is there a particular formula that can help someone feel supported in a time of crisis? Something that maybe help balance them emotionally and just feel uplifted and supported during that time period.
That's a good question. So a few things came to my head, and of course, first thing, I say whenever what's in front of you scares you, look up.
I love that.
And so, I always turn to my Father in prayer. Always.
Yes.
That has to be number one. Now, not everyone feels that way, but that's how you and I feel.
Yes.
And that's the first step to getting some peace and clarity. Because
Yes.
and I'm going to coin my mom, wash your face, girl. Sometimes you just got to get some cold water on your face.
Oh yeah, which is great for the vagus nerve too, right?
Right. So that's a little, thing, but sometimes the thing is deeper. Maybe it's trauma or something else that keeps coming back, or regret. Sometimes those things keep coming back. So you have to find there's something, you can call it an anchor thought or an anchor scripture.
Yes.
Yes. And when you have an anchor thought, you can replace that repetitive spiral with something more positive.
Yes.
So for you and me, we might have a different anchor thought, but like even some people just say this too will pass. That's simple, but It also helps. It's practical. The other thing, naturally right here, there's a lot of energy here. And you can just hold yourself here or on your heart.
Yes.
And you can say, I am safe. I am loved. I am strong. I am capable. I will make it through this. So you can say those things and hear your own words of kindness. Because sometimes we just have to be our own cheerleader, our own support
That's
person,
right.
you know,
That's right.
Because we might not have a lot of people in our life, you know, giving us the high five that we need.
That's right.
You know? So those are practical instant ways you could help yourself. As far as formulas, I do have formulas for that. One's called Reset for women.
Awesome.
And that has something called chaste tree berry. That's the primary herb. That actually helps with trauma, childhood trauma. And it helps reset your dopamine. I've made formulas for my D2 receptors were completely wiped out as a child because of my trauma. So I found a way to, you know, get acetylcholine, calcium, which also you're needed for those synapses. You know, I don't want to go into all that right now, but we can do the formulas and I can give people that information because it is very simple and practical, you know.
Yes.
And you can actually make that as a smoothie. You know, you can make sunflower lecithin and put some turmeric in there, put something with calcium, so your own choice of milk. And I put a little bit of honey because that has all the amino acids that we need. And you can put one of the reasons I say milk, I use whole milk. I know a lot of people are opposed. It has tryptophan. If you don't have tryptophan, that's a precursor to melatonin. So your immune system is going to be weaker. It's a precursor to serotonin. So you need the precursors, and that's one of the things that my formulas focus on, is precursors to brain chemistry. That way, you can use them once, you'll feel good. You use them every day. It's just like you get to this good, healthy normal where you're not shaken, where you stay centered. You know?
Right.
So, and I'm not even promoting what I make. I'm just saying it's out there. People, I just happen to make things that are a one and done. You know, because I felt like I was spending so much money on things that trial and error. And I was like, this could be great if they would do this.
Right.
So my research just went a little above and beyond.
Right.
You know.
That's very interesting. And if someone didn't want to use dairy, they can use spinach, which has tryptophan, or turkey as well.
Exactly.
You know, that would be something else. Or nuts. Nuts have tryptophan as well. So that's really cool, Martha. So what's one of your favorite topics to talk about?
I do love what I do as far as research to help people, you know, with brain chemistry. So I think the brain is one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
But, you know, because the more you learn, the more you realize we don't know.
That's right.
That's kind of how I feel about it, you know.
Yes.
Also staying positive. You know, I feel like I've had people going through things and they've been given my number, and I've had from different states from friends, you know, and called me up, and I've shipped them things, but they said the conversation helps as much as anything. Sometimes you just need someone to hear you and to relate to what you're going through. So I feel like having those not chit-chat conversations, I love that. I feel like let's get into a subject, whatever you're dealing with. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to, you know, be the empathy here, because, you know, that's one of our gifts when we have a highly sensitive person. So I do love talking about positive things, but I also realize I'm not fake positive, because I don't agree with that. You know, I feel like
that's toxic. Yeah.
Right. I feel like you need to find out why you're not feeling positive.
Right.
And a lot of times it is brain chemistry.
Yeah.
So that's one of and you're teaching me good things about that as well. I also like what you're doing with the somatic work.
Oh,
and I've done a lot with that, and I'll say in about the last 8 years.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been life-changing for me. And maybe we'll do a few minutes at the end of a podcast, and I'll show some of the things that I've learned that are techniques that aren't out there and that you can do in a few minutes.
I love that. That has become my go-to. Because the nutrition part is important, don't get me wrong, but that might be 10 to 20% of the issue. I mean, a lot of it is the, somatic, meaning body. A lot of it, we feel our feelings, emotions, and sensations in the body. And oftentimes, things get trapped in our body. And what do we do about that? oftentimes we eat over it, we drink over it, screen addiction, shopping addiction, you name it, and we don't know how to handle what we're feeling in our body. Oftentimes too, and I just wanted to say this without going off on a rant, it's so important. What you're talking about is self-regulation, self-resourcing, which is really important, because we're going to be in situations where no one is around to regulate us. We can't be dependent on that. You have to learn how to do this for yourself, and that is important. Where you get triggered or, overload, but you still need to learn how to do this instead of, wow, it was cue overload, or I got too triggered, so I ate this, or I did this. Well, you haven't mastered self-resourcing and self-regulation yet. That's what's going on. You haven't mastered feeling comfortable with being uncomfortable yet, and then how to bring your body back to balance. And that's what I'm doing this certification course on somatic work, and just the orientation blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. They started off, it was so amazing. There was 560 people on Zoom.
Wow.
And they started us off with a grounding technique, with a self-resourcing technique. So every class I take, we're learning 4, 5, 6 different techniques. And I'm going to have to go back and repeat it. But the whole room, we all did it together. And I just felt this calm come on that happened. And I'm like, this is possible. This is so possible, not only to teach this, but to teach others how to do these types of techniques. It's not cognitive. This is body, and connecting the mind and body together and getting them on the same page is the key to keeping balance. So I love that you're into it. You've had 8 years experience with it. Because that's the trajectory that I'm on right now, and whomever is on that path with me, let's go, let's rock down that path. That's where I'm going. Because I've seen clients, when I started doing this, when I worked at Reframe, I started using these techniques, and within 3 to 6 sessions, people stopped drinking. People stopped binging with 3 to 6 sessions. Now, everybody is different. Some people struggle a little bit more. But for the most part, when I saw this, I'm like, this is the mic drop moment. I'm just blown away, right? So I love that. I love that we're going to get into this topic, and which brings me into thinking about self-awareness and just emotional intelligence altogether, because there is so much talk about IQ. Do you remember growing up and everything was IQ? I don't know what it was in the 80s, the 70s and 80s, especially about IQ, and how important that was to success. But emotional intelligence, my focus primarily the last couple of years has been on emotional intelligence. And it's interesting because what I have found in my research is that emotional intelligence is what the key to success is, not what your IQ is. That's important, but not like emotional intelligence. Would you agree with that?
I will agree with it. I think emotionally, a lot of people are stunted. I mean, you've met those people. I've met those people. I'm probably not completely self-aware, so maybe there's areas I could work on. But even as a kid, I remember one of my friends in grade school saying, accusing me of something, and I said, I don't even think like that. I would never hurt you. I wouldn't deliberately hurt my friend. I don't know where you're coming from. So that was something she learned because her parents were divorced when she was young, and it might have been an angry household or something. But people can accuse you of thinking a certain way, and you don't really think that way. So we're all kind of on our own little, self-aware journey. I was struggling with self-consciousness, which I felt like was a battle for me because I didn't like eyes on me. I just, I don't know where that comes from. Lack of self-esteem or, people have said or done things to hurt me, and because of the trauma of my childhood, I wasn't able to defend myself, but
Yeah.
I learned how to defend myself to build more self-esteem and set boundaries, which I think is a very big key in your own emotional intelligence because you're not
Right.
allowing so much drama in,
Right.
and even when people are, I'll say drama people and they're real negative, you might have run into somebody at a gathering and all of a sudden they're just criticizing something going on in their life and you're just like, wait, I didn't really want to hear all this,
Yes.
it's like I feel like you just dumped a bunch of stuff on me and now I can't
Yeah.
like shake it off,
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
remember telling my friend one time she did that, and I said, you know what? I'm trying to be really positive with people, and I'm trying to say positive things about other people. And was in a way indirectly trying to shut her down, but I just thought, I can't handle this
Yeah.
right now. I've got my own stuff,
Yeah.
like this isn't the venting party. This is like a gathering. Let's enjoy
Yeah.
ourselves, But she had, obviously, it was way too much. She had not learned how to self regulate.
Yes.
She just vented, which does not solve any problems, I don't believe.
Right.
And then I ran into her. So you're not going to believe this. My friend said, let's all get together. We got together for dinner, like 6 of us. And that friend was there. And so when she looked at me, I go, how's it going? She goes, good. She goes, I've been really working on being more positive around people. And
Oh,
so
wow.
what I said to her did impact her, even if it just echoed later on. But she said, I feel better. I'm not in as much pain. Like she literally felt a change when she decided that she wasn't going to be this negative Nancy, so to speak,
That's
And
amazing.
I just thought, wow. And I've known her for 30 years. So I love her. And I was just like, we've known each other since we were really not kids, but young. And I just was really grateful that she heard me and I knew she was going through stuff. Yes, we're all going through stuff at times, but we don't have to impart all that on our friends,
Exactly.
But anyway, so I agree. Self-awareness is important. Self-regulation is important. Losing the self-consciousness because everyone's in their own world. They're not thinking about you. They're, you walk in a room, people aren't looking at you. So I learned posture affects that. I was walking like this, and now I do keep my shoulders back and my chin up. And that does help with feeling a little more confident. So I've learned little tricks for myself, to lose
that's
the self,
brilliant.
But I mean, I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about this because I love it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, I really want to get into that in the next episode, self-awareness versus self-conscious, because there is a difference between that, and you've broken it down so beautifully. So I want to, for those that are just, tuning in and maybe haven't heard of emotional intelligence, and I just kind of wanted to give a basic rundown of what that is. What are we talking about? Emotional intelligence is quite simply just the ability to perceive, interpret, control, evaluate, and use emotions to communicate with and relate to others effectively and constructively, as you just mentioned with that example. It involves being aware of emotions in yourself, but also others, and then using it to guide our thinking and behavior. I mean, we've all been around people, for instance, that I may have walked up to somebody and wanted to talk about A, B, or C, and yet maybe they just lost their job or they lost someone in death, and so I'm reading the cues and I'm being that support person to listen instead of just asserting what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted things to be about. So, empathy and good listening skills and all of that. And then emotional intelligent people are self-motivated, they can read those social cues and then build strong relationships and then keep them. We've all known people that have gone from relationship to relationship, which is not a good sign of EQ. And then not only managing and understanding your own emotions, but understanding the influence we have on the emotions of others and taking ownership of that. And having good EQ allows us to empathize with others, be self and socially aware, and then respond rather than react, which is a big one. And then also, if there's unforeseen events that happen or curveballs that happen in life, which happen all the time, we're able to respond to those the way that we need to. Then being compassionate and empathetic. And, like I mentioned earlier, IQ is important, but not as important as EQ. Because think about it, having a good IQ may get us into a university, but being able to manage stress and emotions when facing a final exam or triggers is what helps us to become and be successful in life. And one of the things I love about emotional intelligence, IQ is pretty much set at birth, whereas EQ is something that we can become emotionally fit. Just like going to the gym. If we want to become physically fit, we would go and practice and use weights and get stronger and stronger. And with emotional intelligence, we can get emotionally fit and become more and more fit. So there's 5 pillars or competencies to emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, which there's actually 3 different types of empathy, which blew my mind, and then social skills or relationship management. And I wanted to talk a bit about self-awareness since we're talking about that. Self-awareness is where we're able to recognize and comprehend our own emotions. And believe it or not, there was research done by an organizational psychologist where 95% of individuals believe they're self-aware, but only 10 to 15% genuinely are. Which when I learned that, I'm like, yeah, that probably sounds about right. And that would make sense as to why there's relationship conflict and issues too, because when you are self-aware, you're able to monitor your own emotions and you're able to take ownership of that and respond rather than react and blame the other person for what's going on. They're able to look at and assess their own weaknesses and also acknowledge their own strengths. So that's interesting. So there's some things that we can do to increase our self-awareness. One of them is getting or asking for constructive feedback from others. Now, this is one that kind of makes people chafe, but how are you going to get better in life if you never get constructive feedback about things? And then keeping a journal of your thoughts and feelings. It's so crazy how I'll think I'm feeling one way, and in the morning I have a priming routine. And then when I write down, I'll ask myself a prompt, what is on my mind? And I write it down. And then the next prompt is, how am I feeling? And then the real thing starts to come out without judgment. And I'm surprised. So that's a great self-awareness exercise. Practicing mindfulness, like with meditation. Also learning new skills and setting goals for yourself. You're going to learn a lot about yourself with that. I know in this podcast, we're going to get into atomic habits because goals are important in identity work. And then just like I mentioned, having that growth mindset. Do you have any thoughts? Is there anything you want to add, Martha, on this?
Well, I know self-awareness is pretty high up on the, let's say, hierarchy of skills,
Yes.
skill sets, because, the most triggered is like a 2-year-old or whatever. And that's where I worry about people when they're stunted and they're so easily triggered. That can be a narcissistic identifier, for one thing. I also know for self-awareness or self-regulation, you have to give yourself sometimes a window of 60 seconds before you respond. If it's something is your trigger, it's just, sometimes you just, before you even are in a situation, sometimes you have to regulate downward to realize this person is going to be my trigger here. Let me regulate myself right away and just smile and, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be happy. And sometimes no one can take that away from you, but that takes a lot of, I'll say genuine, because you don't want to be the fake happy. We've talked a little bit about that, but you want to be, genuinely who you are inside. If you're a joyful person, you don't want to let people steal that. They're trying.
Yeah, that's true.
They're like, she's still happy. Come on, we gotta, try harder,
Yes.
But I mean, and we've all been, every day is a battle. Sometimes not every day, but some days are battles, and sometimes the people we're very close to it's the battle, but I love what you're saying. I know we're going to go step by step through that. So I don't want to take anything away from that. When we do those episodes, I'll have more examples, but I love it.
Awesome. Thank you for adding that. What I wanted to end on was doing a grounding exercise, activating that parasympathetic response with the grounding exercise. Our nervous system, I'm going to talk briefly about the vagus nerve and how important that is. The vagus nerve is great at activating the parasympathetic part of the nervous system. There's the parasympathetic, sympathetic, which is part of the autonomic part of the nervous system. I like this analogy of a skydiver jumping out of the plane, which is activating to the nervous system. You think of sympathetic response, that flight, fright, fight part. We definitely need that part. It's not a bad part of the nervous system. But with stress, we tend to get overactivated and we feel triggered. That part of the nervous system gets activated. And then what does the skydiver do? They deploy a parachute. And you can think of the parasympathetic response, which slows things down and puts you in that state of calm, that rest and digest state that we want to be in, that grounded feeling of safe in your body. So there's one particular somatic exercise that I want to do, and it really helps to calm down the physical, mental, emotional part. As I mentioned, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, but it's also a way of grounding yourself. I have actually even gotten away into the bathroom and have done this when I needed to calm myself down. And actually, it's a matter of, the one I would like to do is something similar, Martha, where you put your hand over your heart and then your hand over your belly. And you take a few deep breaths where you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. You take another deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. In through your nose, out through your nose. You should be feeling tension leave. Are your feet on the floor? And just, keeping your eyes closed and continuing your breathing. Imagine the last time you made a mistake and you're telling yourself, it's okay you made that mistake. You're human. I'm here for you to support you. How could you be a friend to yourself right now in this moment? I see me putting my arm around me and saying it's okay. I also feel tension leaving my body as I do that too. And it's just something, just 20 seconds. The research shows just 20 seconds of that right now can help bring us down to a calm, safe state. And if you don't want to think about a mistake that you've made, you can also think about, where in my body do I feel comfortable and good? You can also, as you have your hand on your heart and your stomach, with your eyes closed, doing your breathing, saying that, you can hone in on that place where you feel good and safe and comfortable. And you can imagine that feeling spreading out to all parts of your body. And again, it only takes 20, 30 seconds to do this. And this can calm and bring you down at the same time. How did that feel, Martha, when you did that?
Well, I tell you, I cheated. I opened my eyes, but I did keep closing them. I actually felt so good. And I do love your voice. I mean, it was very soothing, and, that helps too. When you're listening to someone with a nice, calm voice, and if we can get to acquire a taste for our own voice. Like if we've heard our voice recorded, sometimes we're like, ew,
Yeah.
But we're supposed to read out loud. Even the scriptures promote that, to hear God's words out loud. So hearing your own voice should be soothing and calming and reassuring.
Yes.
I don't know if you still have your mom, but my mom's gone. I don't hear her voice, so I mean,
yeah.
You need a calming voice, someone who you trust.
Yes.
And that can be and should be you. You
yes.
should be able to say, I am here for you, and that
yes.
did feel very, very, a lot of tension left. I just felt
awesome.
Really peaceful. Yeah.
Awesome. And you bring up a good point. We should get to that place where we can hear our own voice and feel comfortable with that and feel safe. But while we're working up to that place, we can imagine us saying that to ourselves, but we can imagine it being that person that we feel safe with and their voice in the meantime, as we're working up to that place of, self-love and self-safety and self-resourcing. But great, excellent points, Martha. So as we wrap up today, I introduced you to a special friend of mine who is now my co-host on the Butterfly event. She has 20 years experience in the health and wellness field, and I'm so excited to be partnering with her on this journey. We learned about dopamine receptors, self-awareness, the fundamentals of EQ, and you learned a grounding and orienting exercise that you can do anytime and anywhere. Next time, we're going to delve into self-awareness versus self-conscious. And there is a difference, and Martha's going to be taking us to school on this topic. I truly hope you found today's episode enjoyable and enlightening. If it resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to review the podcast, follow me on social media, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Your support makes all the difference, and please don't keep the love to yourself. Please share this podcast with others who might benefit from our discussions. Remember to embrace the change and discover the beauty of transformation, and embrace your inner butterfly. Thank you for joining us on this journey